Hello, Paul. How's it going?
Hi, Jacquelyn. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. We just for the listeners, we just had a classic Paul Jacquelyn ramble going on, and Paul brought us back on topic, which was incredible. So now we're doing the podcast.
It can happen. It doesn't usually, but it can.
It was humbling this morning, truly. But no, we were talking about Stowe. I went back to Stowe this weekend, so that's always a fun. Wow, Paul, I love your sweater. Not to go off topic here, but I really, really like. I think I have a new obsession with buttons. So I got the glimpse of the button, and
buttons are important.
Yes, true. I'm going to walk us through last week's headlines because clearly I'm in sort of a rambly mood before I take us fully off.
Looking forward to rambling.
Yeah.
That's the genre.
Yes. Rambling. So our cover story last week was an episode of The Directors, this time featuring Yolanda Sanchez and Kelvin Lee. Yolanda Sanchez is director of the University of New Mexico Comprehensive Cancer Center, and Kelvin Lee is director of the Indiana University Simon Comprehensive Cancer Center. And that conversation was really great and wide-ranging. Kelvin Lee is incredibly funny. So it has a lot of like unique character to this story. And it was a really interesting topic as well. I think Claire did a really beautiful job, and Paul, sort of framing the narrative where they focused on how to build and sustain the next generation of scientists, and how diversity is, fundamental for maintaining a diverse ecosystem. And yeah, I just loved Kelvin Lee's sort of reference to the fact that that's a biological fact. I gotta love that. Then we put out a second podcast last week. This one, the last in a series celebrating Black History Month. This episode featured Joni D. Nelson, the assistant director for the Office of Workforce Development at MUSC Hollings Cancer Center, who was interviewed by Robert A. Wynn, who is the Cancer Letter's guest editor for Black History Month. Then I wrote a story about the Stevenson Global Pancreatic Cancer Research Institute, and sort of like roughly a year later, kind of checking in on what their goals are. Since last time we wrote about them, they sort of had projected goals and sort of just, what are they actually drilling down into now. And we had a guest editorial by Jeff Sorensen, CEO and founder of UNU Inc., about how to modernize clinical trial imaging. That story is very niche, but very interesting and long. So worth actually, combing through that one. And then cancer policy, I'm not going to go through them, but this isn't me just saying it. It was a very important, dense cancer policy. So listeners, that's your homework. And then, of course, story 2 that I'm circling back to now is Paul's Thursday scramble. Love it. Love when that happens. It's high drama when that happens. So I'm going to let you sort of give the elevator pitch for your story, Paul. And then I will poke and prod and get more info.
Well, it's called a news outbreak. That's when something actually happens.
Yeah. It's every Monday meeting we go, we're going to wait for a news outbreak as well.
What to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's really kind of fascinating when that happens. But this was an amazing story. There were these 2 class action, suits that are hoping to be class action against Tempus AI about genetic privacy based on Illinois law that has to do with the acquisition of a genetic testing company called Ambry. Mm-hmm. And Ambry contained genetic information from a lot of people. And the question is, were these people consented properly before the data were actually put into the kind of combined, if it was indeed combined with Tempus data, and before it was used, if it was indeed used for drug development. Mm-hmm. So it's all very interesting. it's also making a lot of people nervous. I know that at cancer centers and elsewhere because of just the way all of this is regulated. But I think the issue that fascinated me was that you can de-identify something, maybe, but is it really de-identifiable with DNA research? So it's just a question of a research question or just question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see stories about people being found criminals because of their cousins.
Yeah.
On 23andMe or whatever, family members. So you can actually start narrowing things down with that. And does that violate privacy? Yeah. Maybe, but we also really do not know the facts in this case. I mean, what we see is an allegation. And I guess that's kind of it's interesting because we can talk about it in the podcast, but I wouldn't quite put it as bluntly as I want to right now, in a story. It's kind of like the medium is the message situation.
Yeah.
When you think about it, what is a class action suit? A class action suit, as a general proposition, is an attempt to shake somebody down. Does it have any policy making or guidance or prospective guidance? Does it offer any of that? Not really, usually. The law is not clarified because they settle the thing usually. Well, the courts are usually fairly generous in terms of what is the word? Qualifying? No, what is the word? Certifying. There you go. In terms of certifying a class action, once it's certified, the question is whether the thing gets thrown out or settled. But you rarely see any real judgments on this. Yeah, it's really a bizarre thing. Like one of my stories, actually, I'm going to brag a little bit, led to a Supreme Court case. And that was about class action and certification. It was the Amgen securities litigation. So the question was, how do you certify something as class action suit? I had no idea this was happening while it was happening.
What?
I also didn't really care.
But
once it came out and the case was remanded, and then it led to all kinds of other stuff that I couldn't ignore because it involved me as a potentially somebody who was subpoenaed to testify, and I didn't want to do it. It was a big to-do. But really, the whole thing was about certification. It wasn't about the merits of the case. It had nothing to do with the law, with the case, and I don't know anything about certification. I don't really particularly care. So, I was really surprised that the story we broke in the cancer letter ended up in the Supreme Court. And
that's awesome.
This was some years ago. And then it was all about certification, which is a subject I really don't care about.
Well, now you're the expert.
Here it is. There will be no guidance issued. But the way the U.S. laws are set up, a lot of the privacy laws seem to be written by state legislatures, which is what is the case with what the case is with Illinois.
Okay.
And will we learn something from it? I don't know. This is a subject on which I think we all have to become experts.
Absolutely.
And I think it's something that we will be covering. I'm hoping that we'll have a guest editorial about this maybe this week, ideally this week. Because I'm really went after that. But yeah, we definitely need to become experts on this subject.
Yeah, I'm surprised this hasn't honestly come up sooner. I feel like this is sort of like that. Doomsday is maybe too strong of a word, but sort of like negative end scenario when people were first talking about gene like 23andMe and DNA testing, consumer DNA testing. And I think that what you're talking about is a really interesting concept of like the de-identified versus de-identifiable. I mean, de-identified, and please, I did not do the reporting on this, right? I'm coming from this with my, bachelor's in science. Well, I guess also master's, but
I don't have even that.
Well, but what I'm saying is that like I remember like in my precision medicine class, for example, we were learning about sort of like the regulatory landscape at a very basic level, of course, and that there was sort of like I thought I remembered that there were federal protections for gene information, but regardless, it's just this interesting idea that like the idea of de-identified predates our ability to sequence our entire genome. And so it's, I think, just like a really interesting sort of like the technology outpaced our regulatory frameworks. Is that like a way to think about it?
And it's going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. That's from what I gather.
Yeah.
Because how this should, I asked a lawyer friend, actually a lawyer family member, and the answer I got was, this should go to the Supreme Court, but it won't. Something like this, but not as a class action suit, because who gives that?
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen in terms of regulation, like formal regulation surrounding this idea?
I don't know anything, but that doesn't make me unique.
I know. No, I think you're probably the most informed person, or one of the most informed people.
I'm going to become one, but I'm not yet. This is the first time I looked at this story. Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, I do get it, actually, but there's not much to get other than, oh, geez, they opened that Pandora's box. Yeah. But also, to your point that this is how you learned about it in college. College was really a generations ago in terms of your college. Forget my college. My college was not even Stone Age. It was before that. Yeah. In terms of the framing of this question,
Well, what do you mean? Do you think that it's become more like loose as the technology has advanced, or
the value of your genomic data was not knowable at the time you were in college, which is not a long time ago.
That's
chronologically.
True. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
technologically it was. Yeah.
So in a way, it's and when you're talking about how it's amazing that's never come up before. Well, Ambry, Tempus bought Ambry a year ago.
Yeah, valid. Yeah.
So it takes a while to find a plaintiff.
Yeah.
And there are two suits. They're in the same court, filed a couple of days apart. I just haven't really. Yeah, it's the systems have not caught up yet.
Yeah.
And it's all changing every hour by the hour.
I know. That's what, like, I said that, and the first thing that came to my mind was that I've definitely said this about AI. I've, like, all of these. I think that's a like a fundamental. What is that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Meyer's law or something? It's not Meyer's. I said Meyer because it's reminding me of a Kaplan-Meier curve. But the idea that technology will continuously, or the development of technology will accelerate exponentially. Have you heard about that?
Sure.
It's a law. It's very important.
Well, it's happening, but the law cannot really catch up.
Moore's law. That's what it is.
Moore's,
not Myers. Moore's law. All right, that was gonna just bug me. I'm sorry, I had to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just we're seeing it happen. We knew it was gonna happen, and here we are. Yeah. What do you? No, go ahead.
I think we should be covering the story. Yeah. It's a priority to cover this story.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where I was going to go with this too, is, I'm surprised it hasn't come up before, and I'm expecting it to be something that we have to deal with a lot, just because it's so sort of, at least conceptually, and I would guess maybe not legit, like, conventionally, but narratively, it's so connected to this whole push for precision medicine, right? Like it's, this hyper individualized, test everyone. I think there is nuance here that I'm not really getting into, right? Like testing a tumor for somatic data, like we were kind of getting at earlier, Paul, before the podcast, versus sort of like a 23andMe Ambry vibe of like consumer germline data. It's sort of a different conversation. I think that's worth mentioning, but still it is kind of this weird, I feel like it's a problem we have to kind of grapple with in order to move forward with the precision medicine sort of, approach that oncology is taking. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. It's all really going to present more questions than. But one of the answers that seems to be emerging, and I'm not smart enough yet to understand it, is the answer is properly constructed federated models. For data that maybe is the answer. At least that's what I hear from the Cancer Center's Informatics Society. So the data scientists might be able to come up with this. I don't think the courts are going to come up with anything.
Got it. Yeah.
But maybe. Who knows?
I mean, ideally they would, but it's just you need such a specific expertise. Yeah. To be able to come up with solutions for these intense problems.
Yeah, and I really do not yet truly understand what the cancer centers are thinking about.
Well, that's so funny you said that. I literally, when I said I was going to say, you mentioned that they were kind of concerned. Can you expand on that? Now I'm wondering whether you can, because you just said you don't know anything.
No, I can't. Which is kind of like one of the most amazing things about podcasts as a medium is that you can have this conversation. You say, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yep. Yeah, that's what I really think is fascinating about podcasts as a medium. Because if you're writing a news story, you can't really say, I have no idea. You find nicer ways of saying it, but really the essence is, I absolutely have no idea what I'm talking about in this case, and very few other people do, and in fact, many of the people who say they do don't. Mm-hmm. But this is like a nicer way of saying I don't know, and those are sacred words in science journalism.
Oh my gosh!
So I have no clue. Imagine what the world would be like if we didn't know, if we had no way of saying I have no clue.
I know.
So we are going to follow the story until we know more.
So we become experts.
I think that's another thing about the medium, and this is where a story like that is important. Is you really have to bring in people who are experts, who live and breathe things like federated models, who can actually authoritatively tell you what is happening. But it was really, as I was reporting the story, I was calling friends, and most of them were saying, oh, I know. Finding nice ways of saying it, and people are not ashamed of saying that to me. It's like,
yeah. Which is, I think, kind of telling that, if your friends are saying, I don't know, probably not too many people.
Off the record, too.
Yeah, off the record. Yeah, it's probably unknowable at this moment. Or just about.
Well, especially when you're dealing with the intersection of public policy and really nuanced law.
Yeah.
And you have a nuanced scientific question.
Yeah.
Question that is asked and questions that are not asked, like, de-identified versus de-identifiable. And there is no such thing as de-identifiable. That's not easy. Yeah. I mean, I've never done Ambry, but I did do 23andMe. Mm-hmm. And you know what I learned?
What? Oh, is it?
I learned that I am Ashkenazi Jewish.
which you are not. Or are you?
Very useful information.
Yes.
I'm something like 98.7% or something like that. And also, I have more Neanderthal variants than something like 85%.
Oh no, I have higher than normal Neanderthal.
Are you
as
also a
well.
Neanderthal?
I am. I'm like 75, I think. So it makes sense why we get along.
I mean, think of, Neanderthals were not treated well by the Homo sapiens.
They were not.
Yeah.
They were not. They really weren't. Isn't that true? Didn't they like kill them off? Yeah. And
it wasn't good.
No.
It wasn't good. I mean, I have some memories of that, but they're kind of like
some ancestral. Yeah.
Memory. Anyway, before we,
That's what I
that's
mean.
one of the disadvantages of podcasting. It disintegrates into utter nonsense.
I warned you it was going to be rambly today.
And on that note,
yes, I think we did pretty well. But
Yeah.
on that note, thank you, Paul. I will see you next week.
it's a wonderful time to be a Neanderthal.
Yes, it is.